I'll see if I can make that work. If not, we'll mention it at the.
Don't say this.
No. You just
Right.
end with worship and then you can sit down.
Okay.
Should be at a better point for you.
Is it on?
Yep. And we'll just wait for the forgiveness that I sent.
Good song. Good morning. How is everybody today? I've already been hiking, so I'm feeling invigorated, although I fell and hurt myself slightly, but I'm still standing here, slightly gimpy. Well, welcome to the Universalist Church, in which love is the spirit. We are glad you are here, whether you're here in the sanctuary today or anywhere in the world on our live stream. I'm Kelly Nevins, one of your representatives, slightly gimpy, on our Board of Trustees. If you're a visitor, we hope you'll sign one of our guest books at either entrance to the sanctuary or visit our webpage, westhartforduu.org, to learn more. There you can use the contact page to get onto our electronic mailing list, which is the best way for us to stay connected. We look forward to helping you become part of the Universalist Church. We'll have a new member orientation session today and next Sunday after worship too. So if you're thinking about whether you'd like to join our congregation as a member or know you want to, please join us in the program center directly behind the sanctuary after worship ends. Also today is the second braiding sweetgrass session. Please see the back of your order of service for more information. We'll also have fellowship through Zoom and fellowship in Fisk Hall after worship. If you need help finding your way to Fisk Hall, any member of the church will be happy to guide you. Just look for someone wearing a Universalist Church name tag. You can find the link for Zoom fellowship in your weekly news or on our Breeze calendar. If you aren't getting the weekly news, please do sign up for it on our website. And now I invite you to take a moment to make your mobile phone silent, turn off your email, put away your keyboards, and settle in for worship.
If you have a home chalice, I invite you to light it as we light ours here in the sanctuary. And today, our chalice is going to be lit by Sophie and Gail. Even better. And when you touch that, just touch it to the blackened part there, and it'll catch. We light our chalice with an ever-changing flame, reminding us that our understandings are ever-changing too. The experiences of our lives, just push it down. There you go, perfect, and you can hand it to me. Thank you. The experiences of our lives teach us something about the nature of existence, and we must figure out what that means. We move from consuming the good of the world to contributing to the good of the world. We ask difficult questions and we explore challenging things. Questions like, is something evil outside of us, or is it just a thing that we do? Or did I just experience a miracle? What is God? Do I believe in that? I was so sure I would be safe, and then the worst thing happened. Or I was scared, and then somehow I knew it would be okay and that I wasn't alone. We take all of these things and we try to figure them out in our hearts and our minds and our souls, sometimes on our own. But even better, we do that here, together. We are Unitarian Universalists after all, and we cherish our ability to develop our own understandings while we gather together in worship and exploration and community. And so today we light our chalice to hold us together in our explorations, and with the light of this flame, to be reminded of inspiration that changes us for the better. Our opening hymn is number 207 in the gray hymnal. Number 207. Please rise in body or in spirit, here in the sanctuary or wherever you are, as we sing together.
Tree of life and tree
Let's join in speaking the words of our affirmation, our covenant. It's printed in your order of service and in the description online. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please be seated.
At this time, I'd like to invite anybody who would like to join me to come sit on the steps. We've got so many friends today. Good morning. Who knows what day we just celebrated a couple days ago? What day did we just celebrate a couple days ago? It was Easter, but after Easter, there was another one.
Earth Day.
Earth Day! And what do we do on Earth Day? What do we celebrate?
Celebrate the earth.
We celebrate the earth. What about it is so great?
You put the bar wrappers in the garbage.
Yes, we put our bar wrappers in the garbage. We don't want to litter. You're right. What else?
We help the earth.
We help the earth. What do we do to help the earth?
We put the trash in the garbage.
We put trash in the garbage. What else do we do?
We use less gas.
We try to use less gas in our cars. Yeah, that's helpful.
We plant trees.
We plant trees. Ooh, that's a good one. We're going to come back to that in a minute. We plant flowers. What else do we do?
We recycle.
We recycle. We do recycle. When we plant trees, let's think, what are some things that trees are really good at? What are some things trees are really good at?
They can make oxygen.
They make oxygen. Who knew that? A lot of people knew that. Why is oxygen so important? Why do we need oxygen?
You put the recycling in the garbage.
We do put our recycling in the garbage, you're right. Why is oxygen so important? What do we need it for?
So that we can breathe in so we don't die.
So we can breathe. Right, we need oxygen to breathe. What else?
So it can grow.
And the trees grow, you're right. So would you say that the trees help us? Yeah, they help us a lot. So what should we do for the trees? Help them! That's right! What are some things we can do to help the trees? How can we help the trees?
You plant them.
We can plant more of them, absolutely. We want more trees. What else?
You could water them.
We could water them. What else?
Cut down dead trees and stuff, and plant more, and don't cut down less.
That's a really good one. Only cut down the dead trees, don't cut down the living trees, and we could plant more. You're right. Oh, wow, really? It's true, wow, okay. What else?
You can plant more trees.
We can plant lots more trees. Would you say we are connected to the trees? Yeah? Who remembers at the beginning of the year, who was with me when we watched the movie The Lorax? Who was here for that? What did the Lorax say? He says, I what? I speak. Who remembers what he says? I speak
to the trees.
I speak for the trees, right? He says, I speak for the trees. And what was he upset about? What was the guy doing that had him really upset?
Cutting down trees.
He cut down all the trees. And what happened when he cut down all the trees?
The world didn't look good.
The world didn't look good. What happened to all of the animals? Did they have a place to live anymore? No, they all had to go somewhere else. What else?
The animals got back.
Yeah, you're right. So the animals didn't have a place to live anymore. The earth didn't look very pretty anymore. What else happened?
The animals died.
Yeah, that could happen too. So what should we do? Instead of cutting down all the trees, what should we do? Should we help them? Yeah. We should grow more trees. You're right. And we should plant flowers. And we should take care of the earth. And we should recycle, right? And we should have less garbage. We could try to use less wood, maybe use some other materials. Trees are wood, you're right. We don't want to cut down trees because that's wood. So what we're going to do now is that my kindergarten through 5th grade friends, we're going to go upstairs and we're going to learn about a very special holiday. And that holiday is called Beltane. Can you say Beltane? So after church school today, you're going to have to tell your parents, what is Beltane? Can you do that? You think we're going to learn today? All right. At this time, I would like for everybody to please join me in singing our children up to their classes. It is hymn number 414.
As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness which we learn light our hearts till we return. As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness which we learn light our hearts till we return. The voluntary offering, the sharing of our resources for our shared work as a religious community, is a spiritual practice for us. When you offer your time, talent, and treasure to this community, you help us to serve our members and our friends and the wider community of this congregation too. And so as part of that service each week, we share our general offering with organizations that do work in the world that brings us ever closer to creating beloved community, a place in which all belong and all have what they need. This month, we're sharing our offering with the Fern Street Food Ministry's Walk Against Hunger campaign. The food ministry is one of our congregation's social action ministries. It has 5 different programs that support hundreds of food insecure people in our wider area each month. And we know with some of the changes to the federal government's funding of things that programs like ours are more important than ever. I'm happy to share an update with you. The Walk Against Hunger for this congregation has a goal of $14,000 this year, and right now we are just under $10,000, not counting the plate sharing. So we're a little bit short. That's okay, but if you have the ability to give a little bit extra today or in the coming week on the Walk Against Hunger website, you will help us be able to serve more of our neighbors and our guests. To give electronically, you can use the QR codes on your order of service, or the links in the description, or those on our website to make your donation to our offering. And here in the sanctuary, our offering will now be gratefully received. May these gifts, so generously given, help sustain the life of this community, the work that we do together, and make an important difference in the world of which we are a part. Thank you. Thank you. Please rise in body or in spirit as we speak together our congregational reading. It's number 550 in the gray hymnal, number 550. I'll speak the words in Roman type, and together we'll respond with the words in italics. This we know, the earth does not belong to us. We belong to the earth. This we know. All things are connected like the blood which unites one family. All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. Let's join in singing our doxology. It's in the order of service and the description online. Praise God, the love we all may share. Praise God for beauty everywhere. Praise God for hope of good to be. Praise God for truth that makes us free. Amen. Please be seated. I don't have anything specific to share with you on behalf of members of the community today, but I know, and we know, that life is not easy or perfect for everyone. We know that we've got some people in rehab facilities right now, people who are getting their bodies back to working as best they can. We know we've got people who are in memory care units. We know we've got people whose lives are changing in ways unexpected. And so I would ask you to hold in your heart and in your mind all of those members of our community, one another, everyone we know who is suffering or struggling, or perhaps those who are joyful and having wonderful moments in unexpected ways as well. On this day, we gather together once again, recreating our community, rebuilding our house, saving our earth. And so in this time and space, our worship together, our times of prayer and reflection, sound a call that echoes the call in other congregations across this country. It speaks to the unity that we share with our covenants, our shared values, our way of life within this congregation and Unitarian Universalist congregations everywhere. We approach what is most important, the ultimate, from different perspectives, different imaginings, and yet we come together as one community of faith. We hold one another in love and support through joy and hardship, in times of peace or times of violence. We use our diversity to strengthen our unity. By joining our views here, we reveal that there is a multifaceted jewel where some people would assume there is only shattered glass. In solidarity, in grief, in hope, in love, we remain interconnected, interdependent, and individual. each of us part of a whole gathering in beloved community. Let us take a moment in stillness together for the unspoken prayers of our hearts. We each approach the ultimate from different perspectives, different imaginings, and yet we come together as one community of faith, holding one another in love and support through all things. We use our diversity to strengthen our unity. May we gather again and again in beloved community, making a difference for ourselves, for one another, and the whole of the world of which we are an inextricable part. May it be so. Amen.
Our first reading is from Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Of course, there is much of what fills our mouths is taken forcefully from the earth. That form of taking does no honor to the farmer, to the plants, or to the disappearing soil. It's hard to recognize food that is mummified in plastic, bought and sold as a gift anymore. Everybody knows you can't buy love. In a garden, food arises from partnership. If I don't pick rocks and pull weeds, I'm not fulfilling my end of the bargain. I can do those things with my handy opposable thumb and capacity to use tools to shovel manure. But I can no more create a tomato or embroider a trellis in beans than I can turn lead into gold. That is the plant's responsibility and their gift, animating the inanimate. Now there is a gift. People often ask me what one thing I would recommend to restore the relationship between land and people. My answer is almost always plant a garden. It's good for the health of the earth, and it's good for the health of people. A garden is a nursery for nurturing connection, the soil for cultivation of practical reverence, and its power goes far beyond the garden gate. Once you develop a relationship with a little patch of earth, it becomes a seed itself. Something essential happens in a vegetable garden. It's a place where if you can't say, I love you out loud, you can say it in seeds, and the land will reciprocate in beans. Our second reading is adapted from Beloved Community is Love at the Center by former UUA President, the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray. For Unitarian Universalists, interdependence is more than just a value or principle. It is an existential understanding of humanity and our relationship to the world and creation. In other words, it is not just a belief, but an undeniable quality of our existence. If, as we know, our lives are fundamentally interconnected, woven in a web of interdependence with all life, what do we want the quality and the conditions of those bonds to be? What are the values, qualities, and conditions that should define our interconnectedness? They can be based on profit, power, and exploitation, or they can be fueled by a commitment to equity and compassion. Justice is the outward manifestation of our belief in the fundamental interdependence of all life and the moral and faithful call to have these bonds of interconnection be woven in love.
During the summer of 2019, I stayed in Seattle for a little while doing some spiritual study. I found a place to stay that would let me walk to the downtown going north when I wanted, interesting restaurants, lots of people, to go to museums. And then it was also in just the right spot that if I walked south, I could get to the homes of my teachers. And the difference between those two walks was incredibly stark. When I walked to the downtown, I quickly passed through a lush park and then found myself walking in barren, hot areas near highways and heavily traveled streets. The traffic was constant. No matter what time of day it was, there were cars and trucks. The landscape was gray, devoid of any shade or any peace. But going south to my classes was a totally different story. They were busy but generally pleasant residential and commercial areas. There were gardens and trees in the neighborhoods along the way. Even at the businesses, there were occasional benches to sit down on in some shade if you needed a break. But the best part of my walk came at the halfway point, the Beacon Food Forest in Jefferson Park. Even though it was unusual for Seattle, it was hot and sunny almost all of my days there. There might have been one day of overcast and rain. The food forest was shaded and cool. There were benches to rest on everywhere, under pergolas covered in vines, grapevines, maypops. Best of all, right at that moment, while I was there was an overwhelming abundance of ripe, golden raspberries available for anyone to enjoy. So if you've never heard of a food forest, let me describe it in a little more detail. A food forest is something that is created by human beings in accordance with permaculture guidelines. Permaculture is a way of doing agriculture that mimics ecological systems, that puts into place trees and shrubs and vines, annuals, perennials, all sorts of things, all working together to provide an ongoing source of food and beauty for anyone who comes by. The Beacon Food Forest is always open to the public, and the things that are growing in the general food forest area are available. If you're walking through and there are golden raspberries, you can grab a handful and have them on your walk. Now, I will say, of course, there were some signs that reminding people to enjoy the raspberries and the bounty that was available, but do be thoughtful of other people who might come and want some too. Don't take all of them, just take enough to enjoy. The stark difference between these two walks was remarkable. One, a reminder of what human ingenuity can do when it is turned to traffic and cars and efficiency, to concrete. The other vision of what it is to be human, of what it is to use our ingenuity, was about paying attention to our creatureliness. The fact that we too are animals that live in relationship with the earth. Thinking about all other living creatures, plants, animals, fungi, everything in relationship to one another. Not everything about the walk south was beautiful, of course. There were still streets and cars and traffic. There were dumpsters behind shops and restaurants. But it was so much better than the walk north. And right in the middle of getting to where I was studying was the pinnacle, literally because it was on a hill. It was the pinnacle of the walk, of this way of understanding us in relationship to everything else. A food forest that was beautiful and abundant and restful and cool. The food forest didn't happen by accident. It is what happens when we turn our ingenuity toward ecological sustainability, toward climate consciousness, toward landscape engineering rather than concrete and cars. So here's the thing. We human beings know how to do better than we do right now. We've actually known that for a very long time. Generations, thousands of years. People from cultures all over the world have learned how to create lush, abundant, healthy landscapes. Ones that conserve water and provide abundance, that take down heat, that use up carbon dioxide. Now, people in the West are bringing that knowledge back to the forefront, especially through practices of permaculture and the close attention of science to our climate and ecological challenges. We know how to do better. We just don't often choose to. The reality, though, is that it isn't difficult to contribute to the good of the world rather than just consume it. It requires us to turn our attention, our ingenuity, toward a different set of priorities. Perhaps even a garden at home. Robin Wall Kimmerer writes, "People often ask me what one thing I would recommend to restore a relationship between land and people. My answer is almost always plant a garden. It's good for the health of the earth, and it's good for the health of people. A garden is a nursery for nurturing connection, the soil for cultivation of practical reverence, and its power goes far beyond the garden gate. Once you develop a relationship with a little patch of earth, it becomes a seed itself. Something essential happens in a vegetable garden. It's a place where if you can't say I love you out loud, you can say it in seeds, and the land will reciprocate in beans." So here today, we are observing Earth Day. We're also engaging the last of the 6 shared values, interdependence, from the UUA's newly adopted covenant among our congregations. That new statement says about interdependence, we honor the interdependent web of all existence. With reverence for the great web of life and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. We covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality and justice. We will work to repair harm and damaged relationships. Both Earth Day and our Unitarian Universalist covenant ask us to change our priorities, to align them with the good of all things with which we share this planet. And we can do this individually, which is important. Plant a garden, use less energy, consume fewer things. But doing this individually is only part of what will make a difference. It's only part of what reorganizes our priorities as a species. So we have to do this work as a community as well. And as Universalists, if we pay attention to the all-inclusive nature of our own theology, we understand that interdependence, interconnection means that all things and all people are part of our community. And if we take that seriously, then we, in this congregation, must make changes to what we do as well. So I'd like to invite Gail and Lisa and Carol to come on up and tell us a little bit about some of the work that our Green Sanctuary Committee is doing so that we as a community, are doing this work together, not just individually.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Gail Emilsson. I am leading the Green Sanctuary Committee here, and Carol and Lisa and I wanted to provide you an update with some of our activities. If you are unfamiliar, Green Sanctuary is a UUA initiative aimed at environmental and climate justice with support and leadership and collaboration from UUA. And one of the essentials of the initiative is congregation transformation, which was recognized for us last fall with a certificate from UUA. And this was led for many years by Katie and Sabina, and now we're continuing the work. And so some of the things that we've already put into place, you'll have noticed we have the reusable mugs at Fellowship now, and we had the talk by Mark Scully in January about energy conservation at home, and very excited to share with you today that we are launching composting in Fellowship, so you'll get a chance to participate in that, which really ties in well with everything that we've been talking about this morning, to return all of those nutrients that are no longer used by one set of organisms back to the earth to be reused by new organisms. So when you go downstairs today, there will be a slideshow looping that has some more details. There's some information about what you need to do and where you can put things. If you've ever done or tried to start your own compost at home, you may be familiar that if you're doing a home program, there's limitations with you don't want to attract animals and such. This is being conducted through Blue Earth. We've bought a subscription so that you can put anything in there, meat, bones, not that we have meat or bones in Fellowship, but dairy and cheese and all that stuff can go in. Anything that came from the earth can go back into compost. Did I forget anything? No. Okay. All right, so please join us, and if you want to join and participate in the committee, and I'm seeing I have an email I haven't returned yet, but you can email me, and we meet third Wednesday of the month here and online at 6 o'clock. So thank you.
Thank you so much. If you have questions about the composting, I think you can probably check in with Carol and Lisa in particular, who have been kind of managing this for us. There are other things, too, that we as a congregation are considering for this. One of those, maybe more than one, will take kind of center stage as we move into our capital campaign. If you've been paying attention to that, you know that we've been talking about changing our HVAC system from an old fossil fuel powered boiler to heat pumps. That too is another way that we can help take care of the earth, use less fossil fuels, and instead do everything we can to move towards sustainability. In an ideal world, we'll be able to install heat pumps and then have them powered by solar power. Of course, we have to see exactly what comes in a capital campaign in order to see if we can afford everything that we want. But part of our goal is to become more and more and more sustainable all the time as a congregation. And so thank you to Green Sanctuary for continuing this work and to keep thinking about what we do. And thanks to everybody who is imagining big possible changes on our behalf. And all of that said, this is not going to fix the climate crisis. This is not going to make ecological sustainability real for the entire planet. Not our individual work, not even our congregational work. We need to reorganize our priorities globally. We need to do this through government, through industry. We need to make a planetary move toward climate justice, environmental justice, and sustainability. And so that's going to require the continuation of clean energy, reversing desertification with landscape changes, and that might seem impossible, but I have good news for you. There is something called the Great Green Wall happening at the south side of the Sahara Desert. People are finding ways to replant trees, to dig so that water is gathered, such that lands that were barren and arid are now becoming green and lush once again. It is possible to reverse the damage. It is possible to change things for the better. And that requires policy and legal changes. It requires a reorientation of human ingenuity toward making the world a better place. We need to stop putting the worst environmental effects of our collective lives on the poorest and least powerful among us. Susan Frederick Gray, our former UUA president, writes, "For Unitarian Universalists, interdependence is more than just a value or a principle. It is an existential understanding of humanity and our relationship to the world, to creation. In other words, it's not just a belief, but an undeniable quality of our existence. So what do we want that quality to be? What do we want our conditions of our interconnection to be? What are the values that should define our interconnectedness? They can be based on profit and power and exploitation, or they can be fueled by a commitment to equity, to compassion. Justice is the outward manifestation of our belief in the fundamental interdependence of all life, and the moral and faithful call to have these bonds of interconnection woven in love. So interdependence is about ecology, but it's not just about ecology. It's about recognizing that we are socially interdependent with other people, even those we don't know or understand or agree with. Part of our work is to make clear that we know, to demonstrate for everyone that we know all people are real people and deserving of dignity, respect, equal treatment, and protection under the law. And then to go beyond the law and move into deep and meaningful coexistence together. And that returns us to ecological interdependence. If we don't care for our world, all that social interdependence is going to mean very, very little. There won't be need for social interdependence if we no longer have places in which we can exist. So we need to bring our ingenuity, our cleverness, our inventiveness, our capacity for technological creativity. We need to bring that in line with our interdependence that is both fact and value. And if we do that, it will change everything for the better. I want you to imagine the world that you would like to live in. What would that be like? I want a world in which sidewalks go past food forests, everywhere. I want a world in which people who are hungry can grab a handful of blackberries or raspberries, maybe pluck an apple from the tree when it's ripe. I want a world in which I don't have to worry about whether wildfires or hurricanes are going to be worse this year than last. I want a world in which using electricity or vehicles isn't part of an existential threat to people living on islands in the Pacific Ocean because of sea rise. I want a world where people know how to make things better for themselves and then choose to do so individually, collectively, and globally. Interdependence is one of our shared values because it is just the way reality is, and because we Unitarian Universalists are choosing to reorient ourselves toward sustainability and toward justice. By our example, our collaboration, our insistence, UUs have helped reshape American and international perspectives in the past on things like marriage equality, anti-fascist work during World War II, civil rights here in the US. What we see, what we value, what we move toward has ripple effects. It does more than we think it can. Our faith has changed the world before. It can do so again. We have that opportunity, that obligation to make that kind of change with climate justice, environmental justice, and ecological sustainability. And I believe that we are up to the challenge, individually and collectively, and as an entire movement. I hope that you will find ways to do this in your own lives, to participate here with what Green Sanctuary is doing and bringing to all of us, and to help push the wider world to do better, because we know better, and we can actually live in a world that is less fraught, less threatening than the one we live in right now. Let us take a moment in stillness, in hope, in optimism for what is possible. Please rise, in body or in spirit, as we sing our closing hymn. It's number 61 in the gray hymnal. It's an invitation into hope and optimism. Lo, the earth awakes again.
Alleluia.
let's speak together our unison benediction. It's in your order of service and in the description online. Engage with the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. Please be seated and remain for our postlude. And remember, too, that we have a new member orientation happening right after worship, as well as the braiding sweetgrass conversation.